Imagine you have a magical pencil, and whatever you sketch with it turns into a real object. What would you draw? Money, food, or a hot waifu with a big heart and who can feed you the milk of heaven? You know what I mean? So, in this video, our protagonists have a similar power. The story began in a house where a boy named Toe was working on a painting, though he had no idea how to use oil paints. Suddenly, someone arrived, and it became clear that this person was a master. The master asked, "Did you skimp on your lunch money again? Did you really spend this week's 2,500 yen on art supplies?" The master then placed some food on the table, but the boy, now confused, hesitated. Master explained that the food was left over from the previous new year, but it still contained carbohydrates, so he should eat it for the vitamins. The master offered Toe some tomatoes, but to Toe's surprise, he simply placed the plate of tomatoes on the table. Master asked, "Aren't you going to eat?" Toe responded, "I want to finish my painting first." Master chuckled and said, "All right, I won't stop you, but remember to eat the tomatoes afterward." "Wasting food is never a good practice," he added. "Humans can't survive without food. Yet some people die because they refuse to eat what's right in front of them." Toe, unwavering, replied, "I bet not even death could stop me from drawing." Toe went on to say that Master was unlike anyone else, as he never stopped him from drawing and even provided him with a room where he could truly be himself. Toe declared that he would never stop drawing, even if it meant dying for it. The scene shifted to a dense forest, rich with vegetation. Toe woke up, feeling as though he had just drunk something strange. The people around him shared the same dream and were there to sort through their memories, which seemed like a chaotic jumble. Toe soon realized he was in a completely different location and wondered how he got there, as the place was far beyond walking distance. He questioned whether someone had carried him or if he had sleepwalked, but he was relieved to find that his clothes were still intact. As he looked around, Toe noticed numerous unfamiliar flowers, and a sense of unease washed over him. He began to wonder if he had somehow entered another world. Though Toe admitted that things didn't look promising, he decided to take action, realizing he needed to do something to survive any potential disasters in this unfamiliar place. He made the decision to carefully observe his surroundings and noted that everything seemed normal, except for one odd detail: the plants. He explained that it wasn't that the plants were different, but that they seemed oddly out of place in their environment. Toe began searching for other humans but found nothing, not even food or water. Frustrated and hungry, he spotted a flower and wondered if he could eat it. To his astonishment, the flower responded, saying that it didn't taste good. Toe couldn't believe it. He was actually having a conversation with a flower. He sat down in the empty forest, feeling a wave of sadness. Normally, at this time, he would be studying and secretly sketching in his notebook. He took out his drawing book and a pencil, explaining that this was the paper he always kept on hand for emergencies when he needed to draw something. Toe had a peculiar realization: he drew incessantly, regardless of hunger, thirst, or fatigue. As long as he was drawing, he felt content. He starts by drawing a picture of mochi and barley tea on paper. It strikes him that Master was right: nothing, not even death, can stop him from drawing. Interestingly, the first thing he chooses to draw is food, reflecting his immediate need. Suddenly, to Toe's astonishment, the food he drew materializes before him. His mind struggles to grasp what's happening, but without hesitation, he eagerly eats the mochi and drinks the barley tea, finding them incredibly delicious and satisfying. After consuming the food, Toe wonders if it was a good idea, but by then, it's too late to reconsider. He notices the paper has returned to its pristine state. Curious, he decides to draw the same food again, and once more it materializes. He continues eating mochi by drawing it repeatedly, but after indulging so much, he grows sleepy and drifts off to sleep. When he wakes up, Toe realizes nothing has changed, and he can't help but worry. He questions whether his simplicity caused him to fall asleep right after eating the mochi. However, he shifts his focus back to the mystery of his drawings coming to life. Determined to understand what's happening, Toe decides to spend the day investigating this phenomenon. He tries to draw a tomato, but to his surprise, it doesn't materialize. This leaves him wondering why it worked with mochi but not with tomatoes. He experiments further, attempting to draw a pencil and a bicycle, but they don't appear. However, when he draws a knife, it materializes, leaving Toe shocked by this selective manifestation. He is left pondering why it works with mochi, barley tea, and a knife but not with tomatoes or a pencil. He begins to contemplate the rules behind this unusual phenomenon and whether his drawing skills are connected to it. The mystery of these strange manifestations confuses him as evening approaches. Toe's suspicion leads him to attempt drawing mochi again, eager to see if it will materialize once more. He expresses his need for a bed and a blanket to sleep comfortably, emphasizing the urgency of understanding the rules behind this strange ability. As he observes his surroundings, Toe notices a red fruit, but finds it perplexing that everything he sees is either black or white, including the red fruit, which appears as though it has been stripped of color. This adds another layer of mystery to the situation. As Toe continues to draw food, his thoughts remain fixated on the issue of colors. When the fruit materializes this time, he has a revelation: in order for the drawings to materialize, he needs to reach a certain level of completion or detail in his drawings. This discovery adds an important dimension to the rules governing his newfound ability. Toe realizes another crucial rule: his drawings can only materialize if they consist of colors that are either black or white. While this limitation narrows his options, he feels relieved to have a basic understanding of the rules governing his ability. Now aware of the restrictions, Toe expresses his determination to find colors, with no one to stop him. His primary goal becomes locating colors, and he vows not to stop drawing, even if it means risking his life in pursuit of his favorite snack edamame. Toe tries to draw a blanket, and fortunately it materializes, sparing him from having to sleep in the open air. He then mentions that his back hurt from sleeping, so he plans to try making a matchstick the next day. On day 2, Toe draws a simple bag to collect things for colors. He shares that he knows the main ingredient for colors is a mineral, but wonders if flowers could be an alternative. He finds red flowers, grinds them into a paste, and rubs it on a sketch of an apple. To his delight, it works and he happily eats the apple, feeling proud of his 3 hours of effort. Toe then considers making red paint, which also works, though it's slightly pinkish. He decides to use berries and red clay to create various shades of red paint. While successful, he notices that every color he produces appears somewhat pale or dull. He considers drying the paint to make it darker, but, when checking the result, finds it still lacks vibrancy. Frustrated, he wonders why he can't achieve the bright red he desires. As he thinks it over, he glances at his own hands. Toe decides to make the darker red color by using his own blood. He expresses a desire for yellow and blue colors as well. While exploring the forest, Toe discovers a gigantic lily and realizes he can sleep on it. From the lily, he extracts the yellow color. However, as his hands get covered in pollen, he needs water to wash them. He draws water using black and white colors, and it materializes, allowing him to clean his hands. This experience reminds him of the necessity of a water source, as he can't keep drawing water every time. He understands that water isn't just essential for drinking, but also for other tasks, including using watercolors. Toe decides to draw a water source and finds a suitable location. He begins drawing, but as it gets late, he goes to sleep, planning to resume his drawing the next day. Finally, he manages to create his first landscape painting in this new world. Toe carries the drawing to a nearby pond, expecting it not to work. To his surprise, water starts flowing out of the drawing, filling the pond. Overwhelmed by what he has accomplished, upon waking up, Toe checks the pond and is relieved to confirm that it wasn't a dream. He then realizes that he hasn't consumed any fluids since the previous day and wonders if his fainting spell was due to dehydration. Alternatively, he considers the possibility that materializing such a large drawing, like the spring, might have caused him to faint. Toe has an idea to use a magnifying glass to focus sunlight on a piece of paper, successfully causing it to ignite. He expresses his joy, knowing he can now enjoy the meat he drew on that paper. However, when Toe eats the meat, he finds it tasteless and realizes he needs salt. So he draws salt and sprinkles it over the meat to enhance the flavor. While examining his color collection, he notices that he primarily has red, black, and brown colors. He recognizes the need for blue. As with red, green, and blue, he could create a wide range of colors. Toe contemplates that blue could be derived from lapis lazuli. He tries using leaves as a substitute for blue, but grinding them results in a brown color. Toe then experiments by cutting a leaf in half and using lily nectar as glue. He draws a fox and edamame, thrilled when they unexpectedly come to life. This makes Toe wonder if he can apply colors directly to a drawing by gluing them, opening up the possibility of creating various color variations. He proceeds to create multiple colors, including orange, using a dead butterfly. Toe begins to feel dizzy and decides to call it a day. As he reflects on his needs, he realizes he requires essentials like pencils, paper, and a house, things he once took for granted. Toe resumes drawing and notices that with each passing day, he feels happier. He creates a fancy bag and experiences great joy in being able to accomplish such tasks. He has an underlying feeling of determination and persistence, which he had suppressed for some time. He then crafts a tent and uses the gigantic lily as a bed. Suddenly, an anonymous presence approaches his tent. Toe hears birds chirping, and when he gets out of the tent, notices a gigantic bird nearby. Surprised by its immense size, he tries to approach it, but the bird flies away. He then spots a bird feather that has fallen and decides to draw it. However, he realizes the bird has been bathing, and he himself hasn't taken a bath for a week. He gathers his bathing equipment and slowly begins to undress, feeling a bit shy. After taking a bath, he realizes he has no clothes, so he quickly sketches some clothing for himself. Once dressed, he sets out to search for the bird, pondering whether he might encounter other creatures along the way and what he would do if he encountered a bear or a lion. He wonders if he would have enough time to draw them. As Toe continues his journey, he comes across a massive nest in a tree. He draws a tree to help him climb and observe from above. Once at the top, he tries to get a full view, but to his surprise, discovers Robin's blue eggs in the nest. To feels joy, as the blue color of the eggs matches the sky. He wants to create a color from them, but hesitates to damage the eggs. Suddenly, the bird returns and To becomes frightened, rambling on with an explanation. The bird pushes him and starts pecking at him. Afterward, the bird flies away but briefly returns with a fruit, attempting to feed it to To. After eating the fruit, To begins to feel shivers and eventually falls asleep. While covering the egg, the bird gently patted To, and he interpreted it as a signal that the bird wanted him to keep the eggs warm. To decided to take this task seriously. After some time, the bird returned and once again had To eat the fruit. Later, the bird entered the nest and settled close to the eggs. To slept beside her, but when he woke up, he was startled by the bird's eyes so close to him. To coughed slightly, prompting the bird to grab a t-shirt and toss it over him. To asked the bird what she wanted, but she only responded with chirping sounds. To thought she was lending him the t-shirt, so he put it on and felt much more relaxed. The bird returned with another fruit, and To ate it. He mentioned that he didn't feel worse or better after eating it, then noticed a crack in the egg. To his delight, a cute chick emerged from it. To bid farewell to the bird and the chick, expressing his happiness. In response, the bird gave him an eggshell. To was delighted and asked about the clothing but remembered his original purpose for being there. He began drawing their picture, and while in the process, the bird returned with a new fruit. To wondered if the new fruit would be similar to the last one, but after eating it, he was pleasantly surprised by its delicious taste. He realized that the bird had been feeding him this fruit to help incubate the eggs. On his way back, To felt filled with happiness, carrying the eggshell with him. This shell would allow him to paint anything he wanted, a cherished memento of his unique encounter with the bird and the chick. To prepared a color chart for the future. Excitedly, he drew different types of fruits and vegetables, as well as some animals. To then began making a house for himself. After 5 days of effort, he managed to construct it. He entered the house and slept on the bed for the first time in that world. As To lay on the bed, he began to wonder how nearly half a month had passed in that world and how his parents must have been worried about him. Speaking of Master, he was a person who found the idea of living in another world for a year quite amusing. As To thought about this, he fell asleep. To wakes up, feeling that the bed is so comfortable he sleeps until the afternoon. When he steps outside, he sees a bird bathing. As he heads for his own bath, the bird suddenly jumps up and splashes water all over him. To catches a cold and wraps himself in a blanket. The bird then returns with a fresh set of clothes, which To puts on, thanking the bird for such nice attire. However, he soon wonders where the bird is getting these clothes from. To creates another spring, leaving the bird looking confused. After a while, To successfully creates a fountain. Feeling exhausted, he mentions that making large objects tires him, or perhaps it's the water that drains his energy. Regardless, he now has access to water and can freely use it for his watercolors thanks to the bird. The scene shifts to the next morning when To wakes up and finds another visitor. Upon closer inspection, he realizes it's a Tenma, but the Tenma is injured. To proceeds to take a bath, but the Tenma howls in pain. To prepares an ointment and tries to apply it, but the Tenma shakes its head in refusal and leaves. The following morning, To notices the Tenma has returned, looking so injured that it can't eat properly. To creates large grasses with his drawings, which fascinates the Tenma. He wonders if it would work on existing injuries, so he draws a bandaged Tenma. To his surprise, it works. To goes outside and asks if he can touch the Tenma, who simply nods. He pats its head and realizes he still needs more practice in creating things. Suddenly, the Tenma arrives with another injured Tenma, its horn broken. To understands that they want him to treat the injured Tenma. As he draws, he wonders what could have caused such severe injuries. When he finishes the drawing and it works, To asks how the Tenma feels. The Tenma responds with a kneel, and To assumes it must have liked the treatment. He decides it's time to take a bath. However, while bathing, one of the Tenma appears, furious with To. Confused, To remembers that Tenma tend to dislike being near their mates. He quickly apologizes and explains that he simply wanted to bathe. The second Tenma then approaches, offering its head. To asks if he can touch it, then touches the horn, surprised to find it feels hot despite being a drawing. To faints, and when he wakes up, he finds the bird holding his arm. He also notices that the Tenma are still there. To asks the Tenma about its horn and how it feels. He suspects that he fainted because of the horn materialization, as it might have been a form of restoration. Determined, To decides to restore the Tenma's wing and begins making a drawing. He feels a sense of happiness as he admires both wings of the Tenma. While marveling at the Tenma, he suddenly gets an idea for a painting. The scene shifts to 1 week later, where To is surrounded by many Tenma and the bird. He shares that from that day onward, the Tenma started inviting more of their injured friends, and he continued to cure them. In gratitude, The Tenma give him shards of horns and feathers as tokens. To wonders about these gifts when, suddenly, one of the Tenma picks him up with its horn, making him sit on its back and begins to fly. To is overjoyed as he witnesses the world from above the sky. The scene shifts again to a few days later, when To asks who wants to bathe first and proceeds to help everyone with their baths. After some time, To finds himself surrounded by Tenma. Curious about what they're up to, To is surprised when another human child appears. The child shouts, asking about the place and why so many Pegasi and unicorns are around. To is shocked to see another human in this world, as it's his first time encountering one there. The anonymous boy had been attacked by the Tenma, who seemed to be chasing him. The boy pleads, "Please wait. I wasn't attacking." He then asks To if he is the spirit of the place. To replies, "No, I'm not a spirit. I'm human." The boy, surprised, says he couldn't tell whether To was a boy or a girl. He apologizes for mistaking To as a spirit and admits that he had been frightened, thinking it was a sacred place. He introduces himself as Fablad Redjerd, the second son of the Redjerd family, and wonders about To. To introduces himself as Yuzuro Togo, from another world. The boy, still confused, asks, "Did you really come from another world?" Togo responds with a firm yes. Faye is taken aback, as until that moment, he had considered stories of people from another world accidentally arriving to be mere fairy tales. Overwhelmed with surprise, Faye warmly greets Togo with a welcoming gesture, and they engage in a deep conversation. Faye discloses that the territory is 80% surrounded by untamed forest, with the Redjerd family residing in a narrow strip of land bordering the forest. He adds, with a playful tone, that they might encounter trouble because the forest is inhabited by spirits who might not appreciate human presence. He quickly clarifies that he's just joking. Curious, Togo inquires about the reason Faye came to such a place, acknowledging that most people avoid entering this forest. Faye agrees, admitting that it's true most people stay away, but shares his concern that poachers might have entered, targeting Pegasus feathers and unicorn horns. He then asks Togo if he knows anything about poachers. Togo replies that he doesn't know of any poachers but mentions the presence of an injured horse. Faye notices that the animals are friendly towards him, indicating their injuries, and expresses his trust in Togo, stating that he has no doubts about him. Faye then wonders what to do, as there are so many Pegasus and unicorns around, making it difficult to find the crime scene. He also shares that he had gotten lost in the jungle, suggesting that perhaps their encounter was fate. Faye then asks for help with accommodation. Togo draws a sofa, and Faye is surprised to see it appear. Faye asks how Togo learned these magic tricks, as he's never seen anything like them before. Togo responds that he doesn't know how he acquired them. Faye then asks if Togo knows any other tricks, but Togo disagrees. Faye also asks if Togo can start a fire or conjure water. Togo realizes that people in this world can create fire or water. He says, "It's rare to find someone like you." Togo then regrets that if he had mastered those basic techniques earlier, he wouldn't have had to create so many things, and now he's feeling very down about it. They went to sleep, but Togo couldn't. He felt someone was there, so he started drawing carrots, hoping they would solve the poacher problem. The next day, Togo gave the carrots to Faye and the horses. He then commented that it seemed the spirits weren't angry with them, as the weather looked good. Togo then asked, "What are spirits?" Faye explained that spirits were beings who looked like humans, had magic, and were said to live in the forest. They were also considered embodiments that protected the forest. Faye continued, sharing that spirits generally disliked humans but sometimes helped those they liked. They were known for their beautiful appearances. Togo wondered if he was being mistaken for one of them. Faye replied that he would search for the poachers and deal with them. After bidding farewell, they left. Suddenly, a bird arrived with a letter and handed it to Togo. He tried to read it but couldn't understand. Just as he was about to go search for help, Tenma appeared and lifted him onto his back. Tenma then started running, and Togo wondered if he might fall due to the speed or where they were going. Tenma stopped, and Togo was shocked to see poachers attempting to catch unicorns and Pegasi. One of the poachers mentioned they had captured 2 Pegasi and planned to sell their feathers. Tenma threw Togo off his back and charged into battle with the poachers. Upon seeing Tenma, the poachers tried to hunt him too. Togo was initially confused about why Tenma had thrown him and gone to confront the poachers. Then he realized that Tenma was drawing the poachers' attention to buy him some time to finish his drawing. Togo quickly began sketching. During this, Tenma got caught, and he started calling out to Togo. Togo felt tense, as his drawing wasn't complete. However, with determination, he managed to finish his drawing of the poachers tied up with rope just in time. The poachers, now furious, began shouting, demanding to know who had done that. Togo went near the unicorns, untied them, and asked them to go somewhere else, where he could treat them. Togo used one of his drawings to treat Tenma, but afterward, he began feeling dizzy. He realizes he needs to finish the next drawing quickly, but only 2 horses remain. He decides to draw both of them. Togo is on the verge of fainting, but this time, he feels something different. He can't breathe. The poachers return, and one of them is about to harm To, but the unicorns intervene, blocking their way. One poacher notices that the unicorn seems quite fond of To, suspecting that he might be a beast tamer or something similar. They consider capturing To for money. Suddenly, Faye arrives and punches one of the poachers. The poachers demand to know who he is, but Faye ignores them and asks To if he's injured. To manages to say yes, then suddenly faints. Faye becomes tense, wondering what happened to him. When To regains consciousness, he notices that all the unicorns and Pegasi are at his house and asks about their well-being. To then asks how long he's been unconscious, as he lacks the strength to stand. Faye asks if he's okay, and To responds affirmatively, asking if it was Faye who brought him home. Faye confirms and adds that To had fainted, and the unicorns had sprinkled water to help him. To inquires about the poachers. Faye informs him that they are already being escorted but are being charged with trespassing into a restricted area, not poaching. To questions why they aren't charged with poaching. Faye explains that since To couldn't personally witness the poaching and the poachers claim they were only trespassing, they can't be charged without concrete evidence. To expresses relief that both the Tenma and unicorns are safe but regrets collapsing. Faye then explains that he had been scared because To had been unconscious for 3 days, and they were beginning to fear he might be dead. Faye also asks if To used any magic. One of the unicorns offers To a peach, and Faye mentions that they are likely grateful for what To has done. He adds that To gave all the horses food and water, but since To hasn't eaten for 3 days, Faye encourages him to eat. After eating, Faye asks if the peach is so delicious because it's made with spirit or magic. Faye says they need to figure out how to deal with the poachers and suggests exposing them or providing evidence. To assures him that he will take on the task. Faye expresses gratitude and says he'll protect the peace of the forest. They both set out to search for evidence, and during their search, To asks Faye if he can read a letter. They find the letter, and after reading it, Faye is shocked. He exclaims to To that it's evidence against the poachers and asks how To came across something like that. To explains that a bird delivered it to him. Faye asks in disbelief. A bird To confirms, saying yes, a really big bird, both in size and attitude. Faye becomes tense and remarks that the idea of a bird with such a big attitude finding To is quite peculiar. To clarifies that it wasn't him, it was the bird. Faye responds dismissively, whatever expressing his happiness about the evidence but still feeling unsatisfied. In the next scene, To finds himself surrounded by numerous sleeping horses. He explains that the horses won't let him leave because of their anxiety, and Faye had taken the evidence. To wonders whether the poachers will receive punishment or not, then begins to contemplate the bird, feeling something is off about it or perhaps the entire world seems strange. To starts to think about his school attendance, realizing that he doesn't have time for drawing, which is why he's hesitant to return. However, he also deeply misses his master. Suddenly they arrive with the news that the poachers have been caught and the case will soon be closed. They thank To for the evidence and his assistance. To mentions that the Tenma and the Burr had been the ones to help him and starts praising Faye. However, Faye gently pushes him and remarks that if To hadn't helped the horses and stood against the poachers, none of it would have been possible. Faye then asks how he can repay To and notices his bracelet. He inquires about it, and To responds that he didn't draw it because he wanted it, he drew it simply because he found it beautiful. Faye responds by asking, if To can obtain anything by drawing, what does he truly desire? To replies that he wants to live there, in that place. Faye pats him on the back, expressing admiration for To's lack of greed, and promises to speak to his old man about it. Faye then asks, if To can summon anything by drawing, could he also summon beasts? To looks surprised and asks, what are summoned beasts? Faye explains that summoned beasts are magical creatures controlled by humans that can assist in various ways, giving the example of a dragon. To looks surprised and asks if there are dragons. Fate confirms it, mentioning that the first general of the Record family had a contract with the legendary Red Dragon. To excitedly exclaims, dragon. Faye inquires if To is getting interested in it, and To replies that he wants to draw one. Faye is surprised by To's passion for drawing, realizing that To only wants to draw dragons, not have a real one. As rain begins to fall, To expresses his satisfaction with the decision to take shelter. Faye joins him and asks for a cloth to wipe himself dry. To inquires about the rain, wondering if it happens frequently in that area. Faye explains that rain doesn't occur regularly, only from time to time. Faye then apologizes for staying overnight, to which To responds with a simple sure. Faye compliments To's amazing drawing skills and notes how he can create extensions through his drawings. He praises To for making the rain stop and then asks if To dislikes rain. To shares that he enjoys the rainy season because the atmosphere feels pleasant. In the midst of their conversation, Faye falls asleep. To begins to wonder about him, considering whether Faye might be a noble based on his manner of speaking. He also ponders how Faye claims his house is half a day's walk away, yet still manages to come daily to meet him. Additionally, he questions how Faye handles the poachers on his own. Suddenly, all the horses start shouting, prompting Tow to step outside and inquire about the commotion. He notices a group of unknown men standing there and wonders who they are. One of the individuals in the group summons a beast snake. Tow becomes fearful upon seeing the faint snake made of water. The individual attacks with an air thrasher, but all the horses come to Tow's defense. The individual wonders if Tow is a beast tamer, given his ability to control the Pegasus and unicorns. Tow asks if the individual needs anything from his horses, and the person replies, "Horses? No, we're not here for horses." Tow then mentions that if he has something to offer, they can take it. He begins to wonder if these individuals could be companions of the poachers. The individual states that their goal is Redguard's son and asks if he's here. Tow replies that he isn't. Suddenly, the beast snake ties Tow up with its tail, and the individual insists that he knows Tow is here. Tow responds that he was indeed there but left before the rain worsened. The individual remarks that it appears Tow isn't trusted by Faye at all, because if he had been trusted, Faye would have revealed his plans to Tow so he wouldn't lie to them. The unicorns attempt to pinch the snake with their horns, but it fails because the snake is made of water. The individual then states that there is no need to worry about someone who doesn't trust him and urges Tow to tell them now. He asks again, but Tow remains silent. The individual suggests that if that's the case, he should try pressing from inside. The snake puts its tail inside Tow's mouth. Suddenly, Faye arrives and tells the anonymous person to let go of Tow. Faye then asks if the objective is him. The anonymous person replies, "Finally, you showed up." Faye expresses gratitude for the loud voice that woke him. The snake then withdraws its tail from Tow's mouth, and Tow says, "You came with a fearful voice." The anonymous person asks Faye about the reason for his scared expression, questioning if he has any attachment to Tow. Faye responds, confirming that Tow is indeed his benefactor. The anonymous person suggests, "Then why not try strangling Tow?" Faye warns the anonymous person not to lay a hand on Tow, stating that he, the horses, and the spirits of the forest won't stand idle. The anonymous person laughs, questioning the existence of spirits. However, they then notice that these spirits seem very angry and ask Faye to drop his weapon. Tow, surprised, asks, "Where are the weapons?" Faye then removes his accessories. The anonymous person comments, "Wow, that's quite decisive of him," and adds that if they want to take him, they'll have to lift him. Suddenly, the snake swallows both Tow and Faye. Inside the snake, they begin to feel breathless as they find themselves submerged in water. The scene shifts to Tow's dream, where the master asks if he has changed, questioning whether he's still thinking about art even in such a situation. Tow asks the master what he's talking about, and the master responds that it's fine to focus on whatever Tow wants. The scene then returns to the present as Tow wakes up, realizing he's in a prison. He calls out to wake Faye. Faye, upon waking, asks if Tow is safe and inquires about their location. Tow replies that he only knows they are in a prison. Faye then apologizes for involving Tow in this matter, but Tow reassures him not to worry, saying that after all, those they encountered were companions of poachers, so he's not entirely unrelated to the situation. Tow then asks again about the situation and who exactly Faye is. Faye confirms that, as Tow suspected, they were accomplices of poachers, serving as buyers. Tow inquires if they are part of the black market. Faye explains that when they caught those poachers, it indirectly exposed the black market. Tow is shocked to hear this and realizes it's a revenge plot. Faye confirms it's revenge and mentions that he's been targeted for the past few days, also admitting that he used Tow. He shares that he knew dealing with poachers would bring him grudges, which is why he chose Tow as a base to hide. Tow then asks about Faye's frequent visits. Faye explains that they were to use it as an escape place. Because he is weak, Faye mentions that she has saved him from the poachers, but Fee justifies that it isn't his power, it is all thanks to the summoned beast from his 4 accessories. He then recalls the day when he saw Faye summon the fire beast. Fee explains that they cannot summon the beasts on rainy days, which is why he dislikes the rain. He asks Tow if he remembers when he mentions that some rare individuals don't possess magic, and that he is one of them. Tow is a little shocked after hearing this. Fee then takes out a knife and frees Tow from the ropes. Tow asks how they are going to escape, and Faye checks to make sure the lock cannot be broken. Fee then asks Tow if he can draw a key, but Tow denies it since he doesn't know the shape of the key. Fee then conjures fire from his hand, amazing Tow. Faye tells Tow not to react that way, as it is the limit of his tiny fire. He attempts to melt the lock, and Tow doubts it will work. Faye angrily admits that he knows it might not work, but doing something is better than doing nothing. Tow realizes that Fee is trying to help him escape, so he starts looking for a way to assist. In the meantime, Faye shows Tow a badge with his family crest, which features a dragon. Tow notices the dragon, and Faye explains that it is the symbol of the Regard family. However, neither his father nor his brother has been able to control it, including himself. Suddenly, the black market poachers arrive, asking if they have seen anything shining. Fee discreetly hides his knife in Tow's clothes. The poachers question what they are doing and notice they have managed to slip out of the ropes. They ask the poachers what they want and if they have decided to let them out. One of the poachers replies that he has something to ask from Faye, displaying some equipment, demanding that Faye provide information about them. Faye agrees to cooperate, provided they allow them to come out unharmed. When the poacher tries to open the lock, his hand is burned and a key falls out. They launch an attack on the poachers and attempt to escape, but suddenly, someone slashes a toe. Shocked, he sees blood. Faye makes another attempt to strike back, but this time a snake appears and swallows him whole. The poacher remarks that Toe seems eager to get hurt but assures him he won't kill him, he might need a favor from him someday. Toe glares at the poacher with fury. The poacher warns him not to look at him like that, stating that he believes Toe could be useful, so he won't harm him. He further instructs Toe to behave properly if he doesn't want to endure pain. Toe begins to weigh his options. He doesn't want to suffer, but he refuses to remain passive. He recalls his master's teachings about never halting his drawing, even in the face of death. Observing Fee's blood, Toe starts using it to draw. However, he soon runs out of Fee's blood and, in a moment of desperation, realizes he has no other choice if he wants to save both himself and Fee. He cuts his own hand and begins using his blood to continue the drawing. After some time, Toe completes the drawing, which turns out to be a dragon. Suddenly, he feels an odd chill and begins sweating. To his surprise, his drawing comes to life. A mighty dragon emerges from it. Toe forms the dragon for someone who needs help, someone whose colors resemble that of the dragon. The dragon understands and moves toward the snake. Upon seeing the dragon, the snake launches an attack, but the dragon retaliates with a flamethrower, defeating the snake. Witnessing this, the poachers are overcome with fear and quickly flee the scene. Meanwhile, Toe, exhausted but still pleased, comments that he finds drawing enjoyable before fainting. The scene shifts to Fee's palace. Toe wakes up in a different place and inquires about his well-being, asking if he is okay or still in pain. Fee embraces him with joy. Toe then drinks some juice. They ask him how it tastes, and he responds that it's sweet and delicious. He then asks where he is. Fee answers, "You are in my palace." Toe reflects quietly to himself. Faye is indeed a true noble. He then inquires about Faye's wounds, explaining that he lost his left eye, some fingers, and had his ribs torn open. Despite the injuries, he expresses relief that Toe is safe. He gazes at Faye with a sense of mercy and regret, realizing he couldn't save him. Faye reassures Toe not to be sad, saying it was worth it for him to get injured. He then shows his summoned beast, the red dragon. Toe is surprised and asks how the red dragon became Faye's summoned beast. Faye explains that it was surprising for him as well, but the dragon helped him defeat the black market people. He thanks Toe for drawing the dragon. Toe suddenly remembers something and asks if the dragon had shrunk. Faye suggests that it's possible, as being the contractor, his power might have been insufficient, causing the dragon to become smaller. Just then, two people arrive. One of them expresses relief that Toe has woken up. He apologizes for surprising him and introduces himself as Van Milia Redguard, the Lord of the Redguard territory, and Faye's father. The second person introduces himself as Rosath Rufus Redguard. Toe introduces himself as well. Rosath comments that this time, his brother caused trouble, which seems to involve Toe. Toe corrects him, saying that it wasn't his brother's fault but his, and that Faye helped him. Rosath expresses gratitude to Toe for helping his brother survive. Toe, however, adds with a sense of responsibility that if he hadn't been there, those injuries wouldn't have happened. Rosath acknowledges that, without Toe, Faye might have died, and thanks him for ensuring that things ended well. Toe then asks if Van is going to scold him. Van responds, asking how and why he would scold him, expressing genuine happiness that Toe has woken up. Faye advises Toe to rest for now, considering that he just woke up after 10 days. Toe is shocked and realizes why he couldn't move before. A few days later, Toe is now healthy and eager to return to the forest to continue his work. However, Faye asks him to wait and summons a fire beast. Toe inquires if this is the same beast that threw them last time. Faye explains that he found it in the forest while Toe was asleep, but it seems someone picked it up and assembled it on a leaf. They ride to the forest on the fire beast. When Toe reaches his home, all the horses surround him joyfully, happy to see him. Faye observes this and asks if this is one of those situations where Toe can't go back home, so now he would have to go alone. Toe halts Faye and expresses his desire to draw a portrait of him. He starts drawing, and Faye remarks that it would have been better if he had drawn him before he got injured. Toe apologizes for drawing it while injured. Faye notices that Toe is creating a portrait of him as he was before the injury and asks if Toe is trying to heal him. Toe replies that he healed the horse's injuries, so it might be possible to help Faye as well. Faye shares that he ordered medicine to treat his fingers but has canceled that arrangement and written a letter to his father, saying he would return after a few days since Toe would help heal him. Toe shouts, "Wait, as it hasn't been decided yet." Faye responds, saying it will be decided because To is amazing he's the one who resurrected the red dragon, and Faye believes in him. To attempts to recreate the portrait again and again, but he can't match the color of Faye's eyes with the colors he currently has, leaving him very confused. He asks if he's okay. Suddenly the red dragon appears, and Faye is shocked to see it. He apologizes, saying he told the dragon to wait, but it came on its own. To is astonished by the dragon's appearance. Faye asks what happened, and To collects some dragon scales, managing to create the perfect scarlet color for Faye's eyes. To tries again, and this time he succeeds. However, just like before, he faints after finishing the portrait. When To wakes up, he sees that Faye is fit and fine. He expresses his relief that Faye is okay and asks why his body feels lighter than usual. Faye responds, saying that perhaps the Pegasus and unicorns shared their magic with him. To asks if that's possible, and Faye says it might be, given the great compatibility between the horses and him. They then help To onto the fire beast, saying they're going to his home. Faye shares that they're now best friends and that To shouldn't be overly formal. To, a bit puzzled by the term best friend, wonders about it. Faye is happy about everything that's happened to the red dragon, and now, making a best friend. Faye then asks To if he will draw a portrait of his family, as his old picture had disappeared when he got fully healed. He wants to know what To thinks about it. To doesn't comment but happily agrees to draw the picture. When they reach the castle, Faye's father and brother welcome To and express their gratitude, saying they don't know how to thank him. Van is so shocked to see Faye back to normal that he checks him over. Then they go to eat, and Van asks To help himself, but To only takes a bite of everything. To then says it's his first time eating such delicious food. Faye notices that To hasn't eaten much and asks if To usually doesn't eat a lot. To replies, "No, I eat." Faye remarks that it doesn't seem like it, as To always forgets to eat while drawing. He then asks To if it would be okay for him to become their family's retained artist. To inquires what that means. Faye explains that a retained artist is someone they employ exclusively. Van shares that he's been thinking it might be nice to have To live with them and work as their retained artist. Roseth then asks To what he thinks about the idea. To, in turn, asks if that means drawing pictures is a profession. Van responds affirmatively, saying it is indeed a profession. To grows confused and falls silent. The scene shifts to To sitting alone, pondering that it might be rude, but being a professional artist must be a great honor. He delves into his past, recalling memories of when his master asked if it was really To and surprisingly mentioned that To didn't scare him by approaching like that. To replied that it was all right since he wouldn't become a criminal for doing so. The master then remarked that it was no less than a crime for a junior high schooler to wear unwashed gym clothes without underwear. The master asked if something had happened, and To replied that all his equipment had been thrown away, beginning to cry. The master shared his own story, explaining that he had received praise in school for his art and that his work was going to be exhibited. A teacher had even suggested he attend art school. However, when he got home, his parents scolded him and threw everything out, claiming it had no future. To said that he never thought of it as a waste. The master explained that he believed there was both great waste and bad waste. To asked if waste could have types. The master helped To understand by giving an example, saying that if someone doesn't eat, they would die. Similarly, the heart is kept alive by nourishment, but nourishment for the soul was considered useless to society. He added that he believed To's heart was hungry and searching for something small. The scene then returns to the present, and Faye asks why To is holding his hand and spacing out. Faye also mentions that he had been searching for To, thinking that To couldn't become an artist because all his paintings became real after being drawn. To felt happy and replied that he had to refuse the offer anyway. Faye then said that it's better to address bedwetting early on. To asked, "What is this?" Faye explained that To was unable to control his magic power well, and it was leaking. Faye suggested, "Shall we try training a little bit?"